श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Bhashyakara ended the Sambandha Bhashyam, the introductory Bhashyam, showing that the Anubandha Chatushtaya applies, and that Anubandha Chatushtaya will apply to his Bhashyam or Vritti. And he makes one think about what is the subject matter. This is important. The subject matter is I. And this subject matter, because this is a pramana, is not available to any other pramana. We will see that every moksha shastram has the same subject. Every Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, they all only talk about I. That is the subject matter. One could argue that there are many other things which talk about subject matter. I. One could talk about one's own personal history and say that is my autobiography. I was born on so and so date. Today, I am 5 feet 10 inches and I weigh 70 kilograms. That I am very intelligent. I had my IQ tested last week. It was already 140. I am very knowledgeable in the field of, in my field, which is biochemistry. I know a lot about biochemistry. My name is Devadatta. I have a very specific name. But if we examine each of these claims and the autobiography or any other words contained in a book, none of them is about you. It is about a particular sharira. It is about a particular sukshma portion, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, but not about you. Subject matter, there's only so your whole text will have to constantly change. That cannot be about you. One of the main qualities of being a pramana is that the subject matter must be unique to it. Like sound is to hearing. I cannot use any other pramana to know sound. But Swamiji, these so many other texts are there, and they all talk about their definition of I. But that is like, you're trying to talk about Indian history as is taught in schools for the last many, many years. It's either incorrect or incomplete. It will talk about some Dravidian invasion or Aryan invasion or something like that. It will talk about history, Indian history, focusing only on one aspect of it, forgetting all other aspects. That is not pramana. That is a badita text. That brings up the second reason why this is a pramana. No other pramana contradicts this. Again, I would say, Swamiji, I have already figured out who I am. And that is very different from what all these Upanishads tell me. How do you say there's not negatable, not badita? There are texts which say that I and non-I are different. Subject, object are different. You give me logical evidence of that, I will accept it. But you can very easily see where there are holes in those arguments. And if you can see the holes, you have to change your mind. So the subject matter is I. What do you call it? Subject matter, Atma Jnanam, I, knowledge of I, or you call it Brahma Jnanam, or you call it Moksha, it is the same. That Jnanam is Moksha. Correct understanding of the self is Moksha. Because the correct understanding shows you that you are free. You are Mukta Purusha. There's nothing to be done. So, the end result that you're looking for, to be free of anything, free of all that I don't want, that will come right if you understand what that subject I is. There are people who will tell you, for example, certain types of yoga. It is beneficial to me. Yes, it is beneficial. But to whom? It is only beneficial to the Sthula Sukshma Sharira, and we know that's not I. Therefore, the end result that you seek by getting into some yoga, some kriya, while it is positive, it is limited. Therefore, the end result that you are looking for is not that. End result every human being is looking for is complete, absolute freedom. Not dependent on anything at all. Therefore, you have the subject matter, you have the end result that you're looking for, which is moksha. Knowing that I'm free, that I'm not dependent on anything else for my freedom. How will you know it? Only when you're ready for it. if you are an adhikari, if you are prepared, take the same example of Indian history. That Indian history, there is a problem with it. You cannot understand unless you read it with an open mind, with a teacher perhaps who has understood where the loopholes are. That person has to be ready mentally. If you already formed an opinion and you don't want to relook at it, reconsider any argument that are given, your entire focus is on saying, I have drawn this conclusion, I want to defend that conclusion. Then you're not an adhikari. You don't have to discard your conclusions. But the mind has to be open to look at all possibilities and genuinely see where in the argument there may be some issues. That adhikaritvam has to be there. There's another aspect of the adhikaritvam. The mind must be prepared. One is it has to be open. And two, it has to be ready to receive that knowledge. You cannot expect a mind which doesn't even know calculus to study Newton's laws, or forget Newton's laws, Einstein's theory, because it's not ready. Some fundamentals are required before you can hope to be able to read that, understand it. That is why for any learning, there is already a entrance exam. They want to check, is your mind already available for this knowledge? You should also have the desire to for this knowledge. I'm doing this only for getting a certificate. Then I'm not interested in learning. That also won't work. Because in something like learning Upanishads, you're not going to get any certificate. Even if you get a certificate, what are you going to do with it? If your objective is to get a job, are you going to write in your CV, I have spent so many years learning Upanishads? No employer will look at you. And it comes only because I have an intense desire to understand. That is why my mind has to be open. I want to know. That knowledge is not accidental. It is not serendipitous. Therefore, the person wanting to learn has to be a mumukshu. He may or may not understand what moksha is, but he knows that there is something to know. In the sense, like a child which knows that I don't know. The same child, because the child has learned something from somewhere, hangs on to it and says, I know. The child will not learn anything. We are all in the same state. We cannot understand this unless you actively want to understand this. Then only you can see the sambandha also between this text, any Upanishad text or Bhagavad Gita, as unfolded by a guru, and this result called moksha. Absolute freedom. Only then can one see this. Therefore, I start with a certain shraddha. I know I have certain conclusions that I have drawn about the world, about myself. I'm going to defend it tooth and nail by not listening to what Shastra says. And that comes because of my lack of Shraddha. How will you get that Shraddha? You take a few beatings. You make certain inferences which you assume are correct, and repeatedly you see where the problem is. Each time you try to understand it, there's a problem. Each time I test my inference, my conclusion, I see there's a problem. I can either gloss over the problem or I can genuinely look at it. So the person who is genuinely willing to look at it and say, if there's another way of looking at it. Swamiji, you can say that also about Advaita. Sure, you can. I have learned Advaita and what the Shastra says about it from that. But I listen to other people and they all sound logical. Should I not listen to them? You should. But when should you listen to them? After you have already got a reasonable amount of clarity. Otherwise, you will end up a wreck. You will neither get the Advaita nor get anything else. And we can only pray that next Janma you will in better prepared condition. So, all four factors which Bhashakara writes about. And then he says, it is there. So he ended up that by saying, Evam Upanishad Shabda Nirvachanenaeva Vishishta Adhikari Vidyam Uktaha Vishayascha Vishishta Uktaha Vidyayaha Param Brahma Pratyagatma Bhutam Prayojanancha Asya Upanishadaha Atyantiki Samsara Nivrittihi Brahma Prapti Lakshana Sambandhascha Evam Bhuta Prayojanena Uktaha Ato yathoktadhikari Vishaya Prayojana Sambandhayaha Vishaya Vidyaha Karatala Tamalakavat Prakashatvena Vishittadhikari Vishaya Prayojana Sambandha Eta Balyoho Bhavanti. All very clear, he says. It is as clear as seeing a amla fruit on the palm of your hand. You can't miss it. And yet all of us miss it. Which sometimes can be frustrating for the guru. Swamiji used to keep saying, it is like writing on the wall. Why can't we see it? That is the nature of this jnana. That is why Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ashcharyavat Pashyati Kashchidenam. This Atma Jnanam, some people see with great Ashcharya, wonder. Ashcharyavat Vadati Tathaiva Chanyah. Other people talk about it in great wonder. Now it can be both ways. With wonder because you've understood, wow. It is also wonder because I have not understood, I don't know what he is talking about. Others hear this. Asharyavat China Anya Shrunoti. Other people hear about this. And despite the fact it is so clear, most people don't understand. Utvapiyenam kashchana veti tattvataha veti. It is so obvious and yet so difficult, which is why it's called Guhyat Guhyataram Vidya. Because one of the other factors is missing. Either the adhikaritvam is not there, in some form prepared as incomplete, or the person has a lot of obstacles on the way. My own hypothesis, I'm deliberately laying a hypothesis, is that every other religion in the world that today profess to be a religion, the initial understanding probably was correct. But that knowledge could not be transferred to the second level correctly. Either the communication was incomplete. See, when you teach Upanishads, when you teach this Brahmajnanam, it is not just you explain the words. There is a methodology to it. That also we learn as we are learning all the time. Very clear methodology. Either the teacher did not use the right methodology, either because he didn't learn or he didn't understand, or the students with him were not ready. Therefore, Buddha had certain shishyas who today have all kinds of interpretations, and we don't know what exactly Buddha said to begin with. Jesus Christ, the same thing. Each person writes its own Bible. Variations. So it's not very clear because of one or the other factors not being complete or correct. So he says, therefore, I am ready to write Eta Valyoho Bhavanti Ityataha Tha Yatha Pratibhanam Vyachakshmahe. As I have learnt it, as I have understood it, as I am able to now project it, I shall write because everything is ready. I shall write this vritti. This Upanishad is also like any other Upanishad, a dialogue between teacher and student. The Upadesha, Brahmopadesha, is generally conveyed as a dialogue between teacher and student. And in almost all cases, the student is either been examining a lot of things and saying, this doesn't make sense. What should be my goal in life? And keeps wondering, how should I define it? What has been my experience so far in trying to gain what I want to gain? What is it that I want to gain? So the student has to be constantly examining that and would have reached a certain level of understanding. Here in Nachiketa also, the case is the same. We will see some very interesting things about Nachiketa himself. And they ask a specific question. If you look at every Upanishad, or the Bhagavad Gita for that matter, and you see the question being asked. In this case, Nachiketa asks him, please explain to me what exists after the death of the Sharira. What is it that transcends dharma, dharma? Other cases, other people have said, ask other things. What makes the mind the mind? So in every case, the student has given a lot of thought to this ask specific question. Here in this Upanishad, it starts before the Upanishad gives you Upadesha, it starts with a story. Akhyayika. A lot of us have heard the story. But the essence of the story is the background, is the information about the student, which we have to understand. So, Acharya starts or ends the introductory bhashyam by saying, Tatra Akhyayika Vidya Stutyartha. This Akhyayika, the story, normally Stuti would mean praise. For the praise of this Vidya. But here the correct way of looking at it is to make it easy to understand this Vidya. Story is a wonderful form. It sets the background for it. It tells us who the student is, what line of thinking he has or she has, and how does he approach the learning of this knowledge. Who does he go to for knowledge? Who is the guru? Is the guru the appropriate guru? So the story builds all this. So here I would say the story when it says Vidya Stutyartha, not just Tuthi means only praising, praying to. Here it means it is meant to make it clear. So the whole thing is the form of a story, which is not the actual Upadesha. Interestingly, Bhashakarya considers the story very important to what comes after that. The story form is important, although it is background if you want. You've seen in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhashyakara does not begin to write Bhashyam till the 11th verse of the second chapter. 57 verses he ignores. There also it's setting up the background, all the setting. What happened? How did the war? I've all described by Sanjaya. What is happening in the war? Who is arraigned against whom? What is the kind of thinking that is going on? Who is being arrogant? Who is sure or confident of himself? Who is on which side? Who is the Senapati on this side? Who is the Senapati on this side? All the details is there. Beautiful psychological analysis of people. But no Upadesha. Entire first chapter and the first 10 verses of the second chapter, there is no Upadesha. And Bhashyakara does not start writing Bhashyam till you come to the actual Upadesha. And he starts the writing the Upanishad, the Bhashyam on the Gita, only after Arjuna asks to be taken on as a Shishya. And therefore, Bhagavan starts giving him Upadesha. And from that point only, Acharya writes the Bhashyam. Ashocyan anvashochatvam prajnavadam subhashase gatasuncha Nanu shochanti panditaha. Starts from there. But here, Acharya makes it a point to write Bashyam about the story itself. From the very first verse or the first valli, he starts writing Bashyam. And in Bashyam, as we have seen, he will take words from the Moolam. Moolam is the text, original text. And he will explain those word meanings. He will explain sentences. He will also explain the idea behind it, concept behind it. So from the very first verse, he starts writing Bashyam. Let's read the Bashyam from the first verse onward. First, let's read the verse itself. The first verse. First verse. Ushanhavai Vajashravasah Sarvavedasam Dadau
Sarvavedasam Dadau
Tasyaha
Tasyah
Nachiketa Nama Putra Asa.
Nama Putra Asa.
Meaning is very simple. To gain certain ends, one person called Vajashravasah. One, he must be a king. We will see why Acharya says the king. Sarva Vedasam Dadau, gave away all his wealth as part of the yajna. There are many types of yajnas. There is Vajapayee yajna. There is Ashwamedha yajna. There is Indrajit yajna. Like that, there are many yajnas. And in the yajna also, only an adhikari can perform the yajna. Even our daily yajnas that we are supposed to do, there are certain adhikaritvam prescribed. And it's very clear that if you are not the adhikari, you will not get the result. Just like in studying the Upanishad, if the person doesn't have the adhikaritvam, he will not gain the result. He will not gain moksha. Which is why I felt that when other religions which came up much later, when that person tried teaching people down the line, there probably was a lack of adhikaritvam. And therefore, either it got carried wrongly or not at all. So, some adhikaritvam is there for this also. For a yajna, where sarva vedasam means all the wealth, all personal wealth is given away. What a nice thing. You start afresh in life. All over again. You give away everything you have. All personal possessions. Usually kings are the ones who do that. Not somebody else's things, for which you may be a guardian, but your own personal wealth you give away. Now, there is one yajna called Indrajit yajna. See, every yajna has an end purpose. Ashwamedha yajna has an end purpose of lot of laukika gain. At the end of the Ashwamedha yajna, a horse, which is part of the yajna, is taken around to all the kingdoms around. And those kings have the option of either accepting that horse and therefore accept the suzerainty of the king who's done the Ashwamedha Yajna. And therefore pay him allegiance, pay him whatever he's supposed to pay. Or he can say no. Then he has to take up a fight with the people coming with the Ashwa horse and either be defeated or defeat them. If they defeat it, the purpose of the Ashwamedha Yajna is lost. If they defeat it, they go back to again being a vassal. So this is one purpose of Ashwamedha Yajna. But there's another purpose. It is said that a person completes 100 Ashwamedha Yajna, he will become the king, the ruler of Indraloka. In other words, he will become Indra himself. Anybody who does 100 Ashwamedha Yajna. There are stories where Indra tries to prevent Pandavas from doing 100 Ashwamedha Yajna. 99, he gets worried about his own seat. And he tries to disturb their Ashwamedha Yajna. Because somebody else will take over the position of Indra. Like that, every yajna has an end purpose, a result that you work toward. True of everything in this loka. There has to be an eligible person who can do it. There are vidhis you must follow, including how the Agni Kunda is built, in what shape, what is used as samagri, what is used as for the havan. Everything is prescribed. If you make a mistake, the effect is not there. And who is the eligible person to do this? Like I said, even for normal yajna, for Agnihotra like yajna, for a grihastha, one of the things required is that he must have a patni. And he must get the patni's permission to do this, whatever yajna. So you will see in many cases where the yajna is being done, patni stands behind with the darba touching his shoulder. Without that, he is not eligible. No, I will do it anyway. You won't get the result. What is the result of Agnihotra? One of the results people work on toward on Agnihotra is to go to Swargaloka. But if you're not an adhikari, if you don't have a patni, you can't do Agnihotra. Like that, for many of these yajna, there is some kind of an adhikaritvam that is there. Swami used to tell us that there is one particular yajna where if your hair is white, you can't do the Agnihotra. Or if it's not there also, you can't do. You must have black hair. That kind of adhikaritvam is there. I don't know why. I don't know the logic behind it. But apparently there are certain restrictions like that. Now, who can do the yajna? Shvetakeshu. So you must have certain previous, like that here also. The person doing the yajna must have certain adhikaritvam. And it is clear from the way you read it, Sarva Vedasam Dadau, Dattavan, gave away all his wealth, which means you must have wealth to begin with. If you don't have wealth, I'm going to do Indrajit Yajna. Okay, what do you have? Right now I have one pair of shirt and pant. Not good enough. It's about talk about enormous amount of wealth. And that includes, in those days, I presume, land, cattle, Lomasham Pashubhissaha Swaha. All that is required. So you must have, so therefore one would imagine Ashvajit, Indrajit Yajna would be done by either kings or landlords of some kind. They'll give away everything which is personal. Sarva Vedasam Datav, Sarva Dhanam, Sarva Dadav, Datavan. So he was one such person who was doing this. Vajashavasaha. We will see what Bhashyakara says. Tasya Nachiketa Nama Putra Asa. He had a son called Nachiketa. We'll read the Bhashyam. Ushan Kamayamanaha Ushan means Kamayamanaha, we will see. Hava iti Ruthartha Smaranarthau Nipatau Vajamannam Taddanadi Nimittam Pravo means Yasho. We'll see Yashaha. Yasya Saha Vajashrava Ruditova Tasyapatyam Vajashravasah Kila Vishwajita Sarvamedhena Ije Tatphalam Kamayamanaha Saha Tasmin Kratau Sarvavedasam Sarvaswam Dhanam Dadau Dattavan Tasya Yajamanasya Ha Nachiketa Nama Putraha Kila Asa Babhuva. You can see that he's taken the specific words from the Mula Mantra, explained the words, and explains the concept. Let's see. Ushan Kamaya Manaha. Desiring the end result, the kama. Desiring the end result. Ushan is Vash Dhatu, Shatrantaha. Same meaning. Desiring. Vash is desire, to desire. Ushan is desiring. Kamaya Manaha. So obviously, that person doing the yajna is doing for getting a certain end purpose. Hava, again, is quoted from the, taken from the verse itself, Moolam itself. Iti, Hava iti, Vruthartha Smaranarthau Nipatau. Both are Nipatau. That means they are indeclinable. And they are meant to show that this happened some time ago. The indeed happened. And like, you would say when you start writing a story, how do you start? Once upon a time, there was a king. That kind of explanation. Both these, Smaranarthau, Dvivachanam, Nipatau. To show that this happened. These words are used to show this happened some time ago. who is Vajashravasah? In fact, Vajashravasah, another name for him is Uddhalaka. And we know in Chandogya Upanishad, who is Uddhalaka's son? Shvetaketu. Now here he is saying Vajashravasah is a person who is the son of Vajashrava. Now, the same Vajashrava called Uddhalaka has a son called Shvetaketu. So obviously, it makes Shvetaketu and Nachiketa probably stepbrothers, I don't know. But in the case of Shvetaketu, his father himself became the Guru. Here, in this Upanishad, father is not the Guru, although he is the same father. His Guru is Yamadeva. We will see how. Vajamannam. Vajamannam is, Vajam is Annam. See, he's taken the word from there and say explaining. Vajam means Annam. Annam means food. In our culture, giving away food is considered one of the best punya karya. Annadanam. Anywhere, anyhow, you give annam to any being, not necessarily human. It is considered extremely good punya karma. And you remember in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, no, he who eats without giving food is a thief. Therefore, you do something. Before you eat, either you do Nevedyam to Ishvara in whatever form, or you feed some other being. You feed either a human being, if there's no human being readily available, you feed a bird, you feed an animal before you eat. In our thinking, that is considered one of the correct things to do. Annadanam. Same way, you will find that many places, they will build shelters where food is served. In Karnataka, there are many of them even today. Even in Tamil Nadu, there were quite a few. Especially when people are going on pilgrimage. People would carry kavadi and go for these Shashti celebration in Murugan temples. People on the way give them food, give them facilities. By doing this on large scale, there is one in the north called Kali Kambliwala. If you ever go to Rishikesh or other places, you will see. He feeds sadhus every day. We have gone and stand there, stood in line and taken bhiksha and eaten. He feeds sadhu every day. Even today, it probably have been happening for many, many years. And these sadhus typically are the ones who are going on pilgrimage or maybe staying there. So, Annadanam. You can gain a lot of respect in the society. You can gain a lot of fame because you're known for Annadanam. So here he says, how does the name Vajashrava comes? Vajam means Annam. Tad Danadi Nimittam, based on that Annadanam, Tad Danadi Nimittam, Shravaha. Shravaha is fame. He is heard of. Shravanam, you know that. Heard of. He is heard of by the world. He is famous. And therefore, you take the word Vaja and Shrava. Vaja is Annam, Shrava is fame. Fame gained by Annadanam. So, Vaja Shrava. Shrava is Yashaha. Yasya Saha Vaja Shrava. One who has gained that fame because of Annadanam is called Vajashrava. But Shankaracharya is wonderful. He keeps the options open. He says, this is the way you explain the word. A name can be based on the meaning of the word. For example, there is one name called Ajata Shatru. It's a name of a person, therefore a proper noun. But the meaning is one for whom no Shatru is born, Ajata Shatru. Like that. Vajashrava is one who has become famous because of doing Annadanam. That means you've done a lot of yajna, a lot of Annadanam based on the yajna. Such a person. But he quietly concludes by saying, Ruditova. Rudi Artha means it is a commonly understood. It could also be that his father named him Vajashrava without necessarily having, but this is both are possible. Va means alternately. Or by Rudi Artha. You know, many of these words you can actually see both the meanings. Rudi Artha is commonly used and understood meaning. In Tamil Nadu, we say you do shushusha. Shushusha typically, you know, when somebody has an elderly parent who needs a lot of attention, you do shushusha. You do seva for elderly people or to the guru. Called shushusha. It's a normally understood Rudi Artha. But if you go etymologically, what is the Artha? Shushusha is with a desire to hear. Is the correct meaning of the word. So you do shushusha normally to a guru because you want to hear the guru's unfolding of the Upanishads. Shushusha. So when you, in a Gurukulam, you're with the guru, you do shushusha to the guru, means you want to hear this and therefore you do some seva to the guru. And that seva can be any type of seva. Now, guru does not, you know, one is to say that there are lots of gurus who will tell you, give me money. That's not what we're talking about as shushusha. A guru, if he's already understood, he will not ask for money. He will say, fine. And a shishya who wants to do shushusha will do something. Maybe, you know, if in our Gurukulam days, for example, we'd go, if he's tired, press his feet. Somebody will take care of his clothes, get it washed and ironed and keep ready. All shushusha only. Somebody will take care of his food. He's got very great restrictions in food. Therefore, somebody will take care of the kitchen and make sure that he gets the kind of food that is appropriate for him. That is shushusha. So there's a Rudi Artha and there's a derived Artha, etymologically derived Artha. Here also, Vajashrava, if you derive it etymologically, it is one who has gained fame because of his Annadanam. Or Rudiva, Ruditova. And the second line says, Tasya hi Nachiketa nama putra asa. He had a son, Tasya apatyam. Apatyam is apatyam puman, her son. Vajashravasaha. Vajashrava's son is called Vajashravasaha. Kila Vishwajita Sarvamedhena Ije Tat Phalam Kamaya Manaha. Again, you can see Vajashravasaha is explained. He had a son called Vajashravasaha, and he was doing Vishwajita Yajna. And why does he conclude? It is not there in the text. Why does Acharya conclude that he was doing Vishwajita? Because he gave away all his wealth. Sarva Vedasam Dadau. So, sarvamedhena ije tat phalam kamayamanaha, for achieving the result that he wants from that yajna. We will continue in the next class tomorrow, getting already beyond the time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.